My mom died this morning, and I have nowhere to go, the young black girl whispered, her voice trembling as tears glistened under the grand chandelier of the millionaire's mansion. The words sliced through the air like a blade, silencing the laughter from the lavish party in the next room. The millionaire froze, his expensive crystal glass still in midair, eyes locking onto the tiny figure clutching a dented metal bucket, her maid's uniform slightly too big for her thin frame. In that moment, every person in the room could feel that something extraordinary was about to happen, but no one, not even the girl herself, could imagine how a single sentence would unravel a web of secrets, betrayals, and choices that would change every life in that mansion forever. Before you go further into this story, take a deep breath and hit subscribe. Because stories like this, the kind that reach into your chest and twist your heart, you'll never want to miss again. It all started on a rainy Tuesday morning in New York, when storm clouds pressed against the city skyline like heavy hands, squeezing every ounce of color out of the day. Inside the Beaumont estate, a sprawling marble and gold palace in the heart of Manhattan, billionaire Alexander Beaumont was preparing for the annual Beaumont Foundation Charity Gala. The guest list read like a billionaire's club roll call: CEOs, politicians, Hollywood faces, and royalty. Amid the chaos of florists rushing in with orchids and servers polishing crystal glasses, a small, unnoticed figure worked quietly near the back hallway. Her name was Layla Carter, 16 years old, barely 5 feet tall, and wearing a second-hand made uniform that hung loose on her frame. She'd been working at the estate for only 3 weeks, hired on a trial basis through a cleaning agency. She never talked much, never looked anyone in the eye, and always kept her head down. But that morning, as she dragged a bucket toward the West Wing ballroom, her steps were heavier than usual. Her eyes were swollen, her lips cracked from dehydration, and every so often, her hand would twitch as if she was holding back something too big for her small body. Nobody noticed, nobody asked, until Alexander Beaumont himself rounded the corner. He wasn't supposed to be in that hallway. Billionaires didn't wander into staff corridors, but he had taken a wrong turn after checking the wine cellar, and that's when he saw her. She froze. He stopped. The silence between them was strange, almost electric. Then, she said it. "My mom died this morning. I have nowhere to go." Alexander didn't know why he didn't just nod politely and keep walking. He had parties to host, guests to greet, deals to close. But something about the way her voice cracked made him pause. "Where's your father?" he asked. Her eyes dropped to the floor. "Never met him." He frowned. "Other family." She shook her head. "So, you're telling me you have no one?" She nodded. He exhaled sharply. This was not his problem. He didn't do charity outside the boardroom. And yet, there was something in her eyes, a mixture of fear, defiance, and raw grief, that made him hear his late sister's voice, the sister he'd failed to protect when they were kids. Without thinking, he said, "Come with me." The rest of the day unfolded like a dream Layla couldn't believe she was living. Instead of sending her back to the agency, Alexander gave her a small guest room upstairs, told her to clean up, and ordered the chef to prepare her dinner. The staff whispered. Nobody got personal favors from Alexander Beaumont. But that night, as the gala unfolded downstairs with champagne and string quartets, Layla stood by the railing, watching the glittering crowd. She should have felt invisible, but instead, she felt watched. From the far side of the ballroom, a tall woman in a silver dress kept glancing up at her. Later, Layla found out this was Veronica Steele, Alexander's ex-fiancée, and one of the wealthiest socialites in New York. Veronica had a reputation for sniffing out vulnerabilities and exploiting them for sport. That night, she cornered Layla in the hallway. "Sweetheart," she said with a fake smile, "you don't belong here, and trust me, you won't be here long." The next morning, Alexander left for a meeting downtown, but not before telling Layla she could stay until she figured things out. For the first time in days, Layla showered, ate, and felt a little safe. That illusion shattered when she overheard two maids whispering about the West Wing, a part of the house Alexander never allowed anyone to enter. The rumor was that Alexander's sister, Emily, had died tragically in that wing years ago, and there were whispers that it wasn't an accident. Layla, curious and reckless, decided to see for herself. That night, when the house was quiet, she slipped into the West Wing. The air was colder there, the walls lined with dust-covered portraits. In one, she saw a young girl who looked uncannily like her. She froze. Her eyes darted to the signature, Emily Beaumont, 1997. She was about to step closer when a floorboard creaked behind her. Alexander stood in the doorway, his face pale. "You shouldn't be here," he said sharply. But Layla, trembling, asked, "Who is she? Why does she look like me?" Alexander stared at her for a long moment before speaking. "Because she was your mother's sister." "Which makes her your aunt?" Layla's knees nearly gave out. He explained that Emily had run away from home at 16, cutting ties with the Beaumont family. Years later, she had a daughter, Layla's mother, but Alexander never knew about Layla until now. "When I saw you this morning, I saw her eyes," he said softly. But there was more. Emily hadn't died in an accident. She had been murdered, and Alexander had spent years quietly hunting the person responsible. Before Layla could process it, the mansion's alarm system went off. Alexander rushed downstairs to find Veronica and two men rifling through his study. She had overheard his conversation with Layla and realized that if Layla was blood-related, she could inherit a large part of the Beaumont fortune. Veronica's plan was simple: remove Layla before Alexander could make it official. But she underestimated Layla in a burst of courage. Layla grabbed the heavy silver bucket she'd been cleaning with that morning and struck one of the men, giving Alexander time to call security. By dawn, the police had taken Veronica away in handcuffs. Alexander, still shaken, looked at Layla and said, "You're not going anywhere. This is your home now." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she realized she had not only found shelter, but also family, and in that grand chandelier-lit mansion. Two people who had started the day as strangers ended it as the only family either of them had left proof that sometimes the people who save you are the ones you least expect.